Welcome to Auburn Community Television and this episode of Meet the Artist. Meet the Artist is supported by the North Auburn Artist to introduce artists in our local community. Today, our guest artist is Livia Kerr. I am so pleased that Livia is joining us because she really shows how versatile some of our artists are here in Auburn, California. Specifically, Livia, I don't think, has ever met a medium that she hasn't liked. She does paintings that are in oil, acrylic, and watercolor. Not only that, she does realism, abstract, and semi-abstract. And to even further her creative versatility, she also does mosaics. So today we are going to see an incredible artist who has the courage to venture into all kinds of mediums. So let's welcome Livia Kerr.
Hi, Lucia.
Hi, I am so thankful that you have decided to join us because I have been following your journey for several years and I have always enjoyed your versatility and your courage that you just take on a new form of art. And so I'm just so excited about you sharing that with our viewers. So let's start out with, I guess, as long as I've known you, which has at least been 6 years.
Yeah, something like that.
And when I first met you, one of the things that I saw a lot of were the horses, which we see behind us, which I kind of see as your signature, or maybe it's just because I think you did a lot of those initially when you were painting.
Yeah, I think this is how I actually started painting. So I was living in Bay Area at the time, and I met this amazing family of artists that they've just been so amazing to me, and they've just inspired me to start painting, even though I've never really studied art in school. So I was like, what? I can do that?
Also, I'm going to stop you a little bit because so you really are kind of a self-made artist.
Yes, so I'm a self-taught artist. I love experimenting in anything that captivates my attention, pretty much.
Well, and it shows in all of your work. And so, like I said, one of the things I love is because I'll look at your pieces and I see that you're just as capable of doing things in oil or moving to acrylic. And I think you've done some watercolor as well. And to me, that is just absolutely amazing because I'm a one medium wonder.
Yeah.
So yeah, that versatility again, it just, I think it shows so much in your work and just your creative genius comes out. So, but yeah, so we started, so that, I guess that's where I first started seeing you, was with the horses. But at the same time, were you doing other type of abstract work?
I think I was doing some abstract when we actually met. So I honestly just started painting before I met you. I think it was 3-4 years before that. So I really met you right when I moved to Auburn.
Yes.
That's when I married my husband, Jeremy, and that's when I met you for the first Placer Artist Tour, actually. So I showed with you together. So that was a fun experience. But yeah, that's what I started doing back then, horses, and then I started trying abstracts with a lot of texture and gold metallic foil and all that. So, and then I slowly started to, I don't know, just experiment with landscapes and hummingbirds, so you can see them everywhere, even here. They're just fun for me to try and paint, and I just enjoy doing that, yeah.
Well, I also love the color that you bring to them, particularly your hummingbirds always capture all of that color, and just how much you can see the changes even in them. I think a lot of times we think that hummingbirds have a set color to them, but they don't, and the light also can change that so dramatically. Yeah,
so they look very different depending on the angle you look at them, I suppose, and depending on how the sun shines on them. They're just such amazing little creatures.
And you capture them so well, and just that brightness in them. And again, you can see that in all of your work, is just how you captured the colors. I also see on our wall is you have several flower paintings as well.
Yeah.
So now when did you start doing the flowers?
So what What is different about me, I guess, as an artist, it's because I haven't studied a certain type or, the conventional way how to do things, or you just go for a niche and you just do that for a while. I was just really curious about this whole thing, painting. What is this about? Like, can I even do it without studying? And that's what intrigued me. I'm like, well, I'm just gonna try everything that I like, everything that makes me happy, and I'm just gonna try and see if I can paint any of that. So that's why I'm a big flower person, a big hummingbird person, horses the same. So I love everything that I paint about. I really love all these subjects, and I just try to see if I can do it or not. And sometimes they come out, sometimes they don't, and it's okay. I just move on to the next piece, and yeah, I'm having fun.
Well, I think what's also amazing that you're able to go from the more realistic type of work, but also then go to the abstract. Because a lot of times abstract artists are abstract artists, and the more realistic stays with the more realism. But you're able to tighten in and do that realistic, and then open yourself up and just do these huge abstracts. And so, like, to me, that's again absolutely amazing what's going on in your brain.
Yeah.
That you can do that very significant detail off of it and just go big.
Yeah, I think it's all depending on my mood in the specific day, really. So I do have to say my favorite is abstract. And I tend to go so much in detail without even thinking of it. So it's so hard to do an abstract. People would think, oh, you just did, those
you're just
brushes in there. You're just
going all over the place.
It's not easy at all. Abstract is actually harder than realism for me, at least. So it's really hard for me to go from realism to abstract, and I'm trying that really hard. And I'm working on a series now that's called Serene Landscapes, and I really am trying to do those loose abstract landscapes because I really love that, and it's hard for me to get there, and I will keep working at it until I do.
Well, I think that's one of the things I find that I get bogged down into because I am a detail person.
Me too.
And, I find I can work for hours just on a little corner of something.
Yeah.
And even with this much detail in my work, I will step away and go, oh, I think I got a little carried away there.
Yes.
So I do admire the fact that you're able to do both and come out and I also understand the difficulty in that expression into that looser area.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's just really practice, and I'm just forcing myself to practice different things, different methods, and just give it a try.
Now, when we were talking earlier, you were saying that you tend to have several projects going at the same time.
Yeah, it's very hard for me to focus on one painting at a time. So depending on the mood I'm in that day, whether I'm thinking of the ocean, then I just start creating an ocean landscape or just waves or whatever makes me think of it. And some other times I'm just thinking of my little garden and the flowers I have in there and the hummingbirds that hum around and fight and just make my day. So yeah, I always find that I'm more inspired if I have several pieces started, and then depending on how I feel that day, I can just start working on one of the pieces and not waste time by forcing myself to just go work on that piece that you don't really want to work on today. So that I figure that helps me get that practice that I need in art. Yeah.
No, I think that sounds like a perfect solution, particularly when you are being inspired from what you're feeling for that given day.
Yeah.
And so you come in and you go, hey, today's a hummingbird day. On there I have my hummingbirds already started.
Yeah.
Versus forcing yourself to stay at the more abstract.
Yeah, it makes it easier for me. That's what makes me and keeps me going. But other artists might feel it different.
So you are still a working woman. You're not just doing this as a full-time job in and of itself.
Yes.
So how on earth do you manage being able to put out this level a number of pieces of art and still be working at a regular job?
Yeah, well, time management is really important, and an amazing, loving, and wonderful husband that supports you in everything you do, honestly. Jeremy has been really amazing to me. He's my husband, and he goes to all the shows with me. You will see him right by my side, giving a hand on anything I need, and yeah, he's very understanding and very supportive of my hobby for now. And like I said,
think
time
this
management.
is beyond hobby.
Yeah, I think I got a little carried away.
No, I think that you have a second job is what you've done. It's a creative job,
yes.
but no, I think this is more than a hobby.
I just can't stop, really. It's just about creating, and I think this is my break from my everyday life and my day job, even though I love it and I love the people I work with, and I have an amazing employer, actually, that he's a very much of an art person as well, and he supports my art and everything that I do, so that also helps, I have to say, yeah.
Well, let's talk about some specifics again, going back to what we see here, because we've been talking about the hummingbirds, so I want to make sure that we focus on some of your hummingbirds and your flowers. And this is one of your landscapes, and I noticed that this seems to have a set line that's going through it. Is this something that you've been doing fairly recent, or?
Yeah, I used to do a very loose horizon line before, and I'm trying something different now. It works. I like the way it's coming together. We'll see. The next painting is what they're going to say.
Well, we're going to go from here, and we're going to look at a piece that Livia has started, so we can see what her starting point is at. And then we're also going to talk about a piece that didn't quite work when she had it finished, mulled around in her head, and then she's now back to it. And she's going to explain how she's going to correct something that she's decided she didn't really like. Before we get started on this painting that she's working on, I am going to take a step backwards, because we had talked about when we first met and how it's evolved. And actually I have a good friendship now with Livia, which I value. And one of the things that I did to Livia a couple of years ago is I was managing the creation of some artwork for the fairgrounds. And Livia happened to be sitting with me and asked me, is there anything I can do to help? And I said, yes, I need somebody to do some paintings that would tell what the regions are. And then I went on to describe this. I wanted something that was going to be the back and the front of the canvas. And our theme was going to be a Star Trek theme, so I wanted some type of a nebula. And I have to share what Livia came up with. This is what she did. And it is double-sided. And this is one of the things that's absolutely amazing, is that you were able to do both sides of this.
I just loved experimenting, really. This is totally out of my comfort zone, and I actually tried some alcohol ink in it and acrylic and watercolor. I don't even know how I did that, but it was an amazing process, and I just really enjoyed it. So it was worth it, even though it was, a lot of work and a lot of experimenting, but it was fun, yeah.
And I don't think from here on out she'll ever ask, is there anything I could do to help? But I have absolutely loved these. And this again shows her how versatile she is and how she can take an idea that somebody else has given to her and create something as incredible as this. So now let's go back to the reason we moved over here, which is to look at a painting in progress. And let's first start with, this is a very big canvas.
Yeah.
And you've set some colors here. And then, is there an underpainting on this? And let's just take through the steps of how we get here and then where you think you're going to be going with it.
Sure. Well, my process usually is, so before I start, I have to say, I'm always, when I see the size of a canvas, I'm like, do I really want to try working on this? How am I going to fill up this blank canvas, right? We always have that question. And the first thing I start with is really texture. And you can see it all over the painting. I just like to give a little bit of dimension to my paintings, and just to, the light and shadow, the way it looks on the painting when you have texture is very different than when you don't have that texture. So that attracts me, at least in my process. So
So the texture comes in first.
Yes, the texture comes in first, and then I really sketch in really big lines. Like this is what you see here. It's just a big sketch of what I want to depict in my painting, and it's just roughly in big lines. And this is the first layer for my colors, but there's going to be many layers on this little one.
So what did you do to build up the texture? How do you get that on here?
So I usually like to use speckle. It's very unconventional for all the artists out there. Not all of them. I know some of them are using speckle, but I think it's just so interesting to try different materials and just experiment with whatever you have handy. Maybe. So that's what I use. I tried it once and I really liked it and I kept doing it. So it really works for me and it's fun to work with, I find. Yeah.
Now, when you put this in your categories of, is this going to be like a semi-abstract or an abstract landscape? How would you?
That's a tricky question. So I never know how it's going to turn out, to be honest with you. I always try to do a very loose abstract. It doesn't always happen, as you could see in my paintings, but I try because I love the loose abstract, so I will try and do that. It's probably going to be somewhere in the middle. Yeah.
Well, it looks like, to me, this is going to be a beach typist.
Yes.
Which is kind of where your starting point is. Because that's certainly what, to me, your colors are going to be showing. And you sometimes either a sunrise or a sunset.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a sunset. I like my sleep in the morning, so we usually, every time we go to the beach, we go and watch the sunset. So it's probably going to be a sunset, yeah.
Well, I think it's already beautiful. I love the way that you've combined your colors. And it'll be interesting to see as you build up the palette.
Yeah, there's many layers that go into just one of my paintings. It's layer after layer.
So now, is this oil or is this acrylic?
So I started with acrylic just because of the size of it, but it might end up in oil. You can always add oil paints over acrylic paints, but you can never do the other way around. I mean, you could try, but it might not stay.
So why is that you can't put the acrylic over the oil?
They just won't dry that nicely, or they might come off. Or
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. I never thought about that. I had just always heard that you don't combine oil and acrylic at all.
I know, but mixed media lovers out there know that we love to mix them. So yes, we try everything.
Have you ever tried to put pastels using that?
No,
so
that's one thing
looser?
I haven't, but I've seen some artists that do it. Do like little sketches on top of it with oil pastel if you have an oil painting.
With an oil pastel, yes.
So I might try that one day.
Well, I know an artist who's now using the loose pastel like I use, the pigment, and she's putting it in to add a grainier kind of look to it. So yes, when you get into the mixed media, it's just like, oh, who cares? Let's just see what the effect is.
Exactly.
So this is just one experimentation. And I can see why that could bring joy.
Yes.
And freedom.
Yeah, yes, freedom, that's the right word. That's what we're looking for, right?
I think, I don't know, obviously in my work, no. I am caught in this box.
I see.
So that's why I admire what you do so much, is like, because I don't think I can go this route. It's just, I can't give that detail and lines. You know, I was taught you stay within the lines.
Well, yeah, it depends on how you've been taught as well. And it also depends on what makes you happy. So that's who you are, and that's perfect, because that's what makes you happy. And me, I'm all over the place. I just love experimenting everything and see how everything goes. So why not?
I think everything you do just shows so much joy.
Yeah.
I really do. I love it.
you.
I love this experience of being in your studio. Now the next thing we're going to do is that step I was talking about, is sometimes you do a painting and you look at it and go, I think I'm done. And then the painting sits there for a
Not
while
quite.
and you're going, that's not exactly what I wanted it to do. And you're going to show us one that you are now changing.
This is one of my paintings I thought was finished. It wasn't. After, a year or two, I think. This is one of my abstract paintings. And like you can tell, I like to add a lot of texture with speckle. And I looked at it after a year or so, and I decided that this doesn't look just right, just the way I want it to look. So I started adding on more texture. It never goes the way we want it to go. So it's okay to try, it's okay to experiment, it's okay to add layers and do whatever you feel the painting needs. So yeah, give it a try.
Well, and also just to, if you don't like it, you can just go ahead and
keep working on it.
Yeah. Or just as what you've done here is obviously there's going to be some definite texturing changes and probably some color changes that are going to be going on.
I think, some color changes as well, and we'll see, maybe some more gold foil on top, we'll see.
So there isn't any difficulty then when you're coming in over another color in your mediums that you don't have a bleed through of the color behind it?
No, as long as it's acrylic, you can do it. If it's oil, I wouldn't try adding texture on top of the oil.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you can add some other materials like sand. I did that one time. It was fun. Yeah.
Okay, so how do you apply sand? You just throw it onto the canvas?
You just put a lot of glue before you do that, and then you just put the sand wherever you would like it
that's
to be
interesting.
For more texture. And, yeah.
Well, I know that's one of the things that when I first started looking at mixed media and realizing, this is definitely the medium that has been created so that artists can take all these paintings a step further.
Yeah.
And I think adding that 3D is something that everyone is trying to achieve. And I love the way that you figured out a way to do that build up.
Well, thank you.
All right, so as I indicated, Livia is never static in what she does. And so what she's done now is she's gone into mosaics. This is not the mosaics like I think you're used to. This is a totally different, very creative process that she's done. So she's going to give us a demonstration on her mosaics, and we're going to look at some of her mosaic pieces. So now we're at the exciting part of the program, which is the demonstration on how to do these mosaics. And the first thing Livia is going to show us is how to do the adhesive, or as I was jokingly say, the glue that binds the mosaic. So why don't you show us what you've got here, because this is an interesting material.
Yeah, so I just mix up some thin set. It's the construction material you would use for your tile, pretty much. So I just mix this with a little bit of water and some pigment. I usually use black, and that gives me the adhesive that I need to put my mosaic together.
I can take that from you if you have enough.
Yes, I think so.
See, I'm good for something.
Then I just add my pigment. And by the way, this process is very messy.
And that's why you're wearing white.
Yeah, I forgot to put my robe on, or whatever you call it, apron.
So does this come in different colors? Or is it just...
Yeah, so you can use different colors, and even just the gray that comes in, or just white. It comes in white, thin set. So you can use that. I do have some white background over there. I will show it to you later. But yeah, and now we just add some water, and it's just all eyeballing it at this point, since I don't like measuring anything.
What artist does that? That's too exact.
I mean, even cooking, I don't ever measure anything. It's just eyeballing everything, and it's good. It comes out good. Okay.
So what type of consistency are you looking for when you're mixing this together?
I am looking for the consistency of a peanut butter. I think that would be the best description. Which this is a little bit on the looser side, but it still works for me. I actually prefer it this way many times just because it gives me more time to work with. It dries up quite fast, maybe half an hour.
I never thought about that. Yeah, so it would dry, so you're
Yes.
actually moving very quickly.
Yeah, so you have to move very quickly, or just use this for small pieces at a time, so it doesn't dry up on your surface. And yeah, pretty much it. And this is the Becker board that I use as a, what do you call it?
Base?
Base. Thank you. Yes. This is my base, a Becker board.
If you're done with those two, I can take those.
Yes, these we should, because this is again very messy. And the water.
Okay.
And now we're ready to put this all together. So we're back putting together a mosaic, which I like to call it slate mosaic, just because it's not the usual mosaic that you can think of when you first hear the word mosaic. They're very different. I just like to use local rocks that I find on our hikes usually, or when we go at the beach. Any kind of rocks you can find and you really like the texture and the color, that's what I put in my mosaics. Like this piece over here, this is what I found on one of our hikes in Auburn Park, Recreation Park. So I'm gonna use this rock over here and slate. This is slate. Most of you know what slate is, and it just comes in various colors and shapes, and you just have to cut it with a wet saw. In this size, which is like really thin layers or chips, and then use them in your design however you feel needed.
On the slate, doesn't it have some sharp edges then to it if you're cutting it that thin?
There are some sharp edges, but slate is really soft. It breaks really easily, so slate is really easy to work with. I would say it's really messy, but it's not dangerous at all. I would say. Of course, you have to wear your eyeglasses, protection eyeglasses, when you do cut it, and your mask, because you don't want to inhale or all that dust. But other than that, as soon as everything is washed and ready to be put in your mosaics, you're good to go. So the other parts that I wanted to mention that I use in my mosaics are these little guys, which I cut myself in little pieces like this. They come in bigger pieces. They're called strata smalti, which is of course an Italian term. But what it is, it's just molten glass or forged glass, if you want to say it that way, by artisans all over the place, all over the globe, I guess. And I do buy that from artisans, and I do cut it in little pieces that I like to use for my designs. Also, these little guys here, these are called filati, which it's just hand-pulled glass. Again, artisans make these all over the world, and mosaic artists like to buy them to include them in their designs, in their mosaics. So these are fun to work with, and they actually come from Oregon. Okay, so the way I start my mosaic base, I just add the thin set on my base here. I just put a big blob. I think we have enough. Like I said, this is really messy, but I think it's worth it in the end. And by the way, this is a very therapeutic process. It really gives you time to think and meditate and just have a peaceful moment with yourself, really. Okay, so we covered the entire area. We're going to put this away for now. Then I'm just going to start my design. And what I usually do, I like to kind of have an idea of what I'm going to do before I start. So I'm trying to piece my pieces together before I do that, just because the thin set dries, half an hour, you're not going to be able to move these pieces very much. So this goes my main 2 pieces. And then I am using my scissors, my tweezers. Yeah. And I'm adding my other details, but this is a lot of adhesive over here, so I don't want that extra.
Now what happens if you get it on top of the work that you're putting over the adhesive? Does it come off fairly easy?
It does come off when it dries, but you don't really want to do that because we're using black pigment. It will kind of stain your work, the rocks that you're using. Well, our first strata went in there perfectly. And we're gonna keep adding up. There we go. So that's the main.
Now it seems that you have these cut exactly the size that you're going to be using. So have you already
Yes.
drawn this out so you know what you would be needing?
Like I said, before I start, I just use another base as an example, and I just kind of piece together all the little pieces that I want to put them in a certain way in the design that I'm thinking of. So I usually do that, so it makes it faster for me when I start putting everything together, if that makes sense. And yeah, it's a process, and it takes several hours. And then I am just gonna add some of the slate. All of this is very, very detailed, and what we have in here is very little pieces, putting them all together, which is not always easy to do. It's challenging, but that's why I love this process. It just gives me time to think. And of course, this is slate that I've previously cut in the sizes that I wanted for this little piece. Washed, and it's now ready to use. Otherwise, it's a lot of work in the background, really, before you actually are able to start putting this together. This one, I think we're at the end of it. There we go.
So Livia, what type of stones are you using, the greens and the reds?
This is what I introduced earlier. They're called filati, and they're hand-pulled glass, which I cut myself with this little guy. And I can show you a little bit, but I probably have to put my glasses on.
No, I don't think
So
you need to
maybe
do
later.
that. That's fine.
We can do this later. But that's what these are. I previously cut them in little pieces that I thought I was going to need. So, yeah.
You get all kinds of tools with this particular process.
Yeah, you need a lot of tools and a lot of material, a lot of rocks and slate and glass. Yeah, different kinds of glass, which this smalty, it's literally a specific glass that's made for mosaics, and we like to use it.
So did you just wake up one day and go, oh, I think I'm going to do mosaics?
No, not at all. So I always loved nature. So nature is my inspiration for my paintings and my mosaics. And I've always loved the texture that nature shows us in, tree roots, in rocks, and even dirt. So I've always been captivated by texture, by nature's beauty in that aspect. And every time I would just collect rocks, and we would go on hikes all the time. And I would be like, hold on, I think I saw a rock that I want to pick up. My husband knows more about that than I would like to mention. But yeah, so I've always been attracted by rocks and slate, and I come from a family that we like to do things with our hands. My dad was amazing at that. He really taught us how to build things. And this last January, I did lose my dad. And it was a very sad moment for me in my life. And I really was in a point where I couldn't feel any kind of creativity. I couldn't think of painting, art, anything like that. I was just super sad. And it's okay to be there when you lose somebody you love that much. So that was the moment when just thinking about my dad and how he likes to do things with his hands. He likes to build things and make little things. And our home, he built it with his hands with my brothers. And they would put our tile and everything. So this is a little bit like that, but not really. Very different, a very different way, very tiny. But I think I did get all that from him. And I just saw this artist from Scotland, actually, that was playing with rocks and slate like this. So I thought it was just amazing. I'm like, I never knew you can play with rocks and make art out of it. It was just so fun and intriguing to me. So because I was going through all that part in my life and the sadness and all, I just needed time for myself to think about things, and this was just very therapeutic for me. I just saw it and I thought, oh, I think I can try this just for myself, to give me time to grieve and just see what's beyond all this. And this is what came out of that. That's my story with mosaics.
Well, it's a beautiful way to capture your father.
Thank you. Yes, I miss him dearly, but yeah.
So now we continue on with this, and is there going to be more slate put on this?
This is all the slate I'm going to put on this piece. I'm just going to continue with the smalty pieces, and then I think we're going to be done. Okay, I think we are done with this piece. I just have to clean it up a little bit. Get the excess out, and everything is still wet, so I can't do too much moving, but I will try.
So how soon will this be completely dry?
I usually give it 24 hours, yeah. But it dries up pretty much in like 30 minutes. You're not going to be able to move pieces around unless you want to ruin it. But this is it.
I find that absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
I can't believe we watched this process. How wonderful.
Thank you. It's fun. It is. It's very detail oriented, but I think for me it is a lot of fun. Yeah.
Oh, I can see how it is. I was standing there going, I think I could come over here and do some of this with Livia sometime.
Yeah, it would be fun actually. Yeah, to train this one day and do some fun stuff together, some fun art together. Yeah.
So let's move away from the work area, because I do want to actually show you some of her finished pieces in the mosaic, because they are absolutely amazing, and I want to share those with you so much. So Livia, now let's look at some of the mosaics you have done, because I think these really do show what you're capable of and what you can do with just a few stones, glass, and some slate.
Thanks.
So I'm going to start with the one that I think is my absolute favorite,
okay,
which is this piece.
Thanks.
And I just love the way that you've used the slate and just the sprinkling of colors within it. It just draws your eye in. Again, this I think was the first one I'm looking at going, oh my gosh, this isn't your ordinary mosaic.
No, it's not something you would come into your mind when you think of a mosaic, right?
It absolutely isn't. So I love this one. And then the one that I also think is pretty humorous, because when we were talking about it, we had a discussion exactly what we were seeing in this depiction. And that is...
which is quite heavy.
This piece. Yes, they are very heavy. And I had to say is that I had to ask, what are you seeing here? Because all of us here, we see Santa Claus. And if you look at it here he is going down the chimney. But that is one of the great things about these mosaics, is that you can turn them in all different ways and see all different things. But I love this. I could add this to my Christmas decorations.
Right?
And then, you want to hand me this one?
Sure.
And then this was another one. I love this because this house shows the different types of rocks that obviously you have collected.
Found, yeah, on my hikes. So that's granite, which we have plenty around here.
Everywhere you go, you see the granite. And then you have some type of a silver in through here too.
Yes, I do like to use some metal wire, and I do like the copper and silver together, and gold sometimes in there too. Yeah, they're fun to add in there.
You just love to add the unusual to things, don't you?
I like to try, go to the limit.
And then the other one I'm going to just show, because this you had indicated before about when you're mixing together your glue that binds things, that this is in the white.
Yeah.
And you've used that as your primary background on this, whereas we don't see the background as much on the others.
Yeah, this is the newest one, I guess I could say. I just wanted to try a tree and with no background, so just wanted to leave it loose in there, and I kind of like how it came out.
I think it came out perfect, and it does, excuse me, show the difference in what you can do just by changing out from black to the white.
Totally, yeah.
And how it emphasizes something different within this work.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I love this, absolutely love it. So, unfortunately, we are running out of time. I really appreciate all the time that you've given us. And I know that all of you are going to want to see more of Livia's work. So, Livia, why don't you tell us, one is where your studio is, because that's where we are right now, and boy, is this an experience, as well as places where your artwork may be showing or future shows that you're going to be in.
So my art studio is always open by appointment. You can always just send me an email. My email is Livia Kerr Fine Art gmail.com. And my website, you can always find my works up there, which I do have to update it with my mosaics, but they will be coming soon. And my website is www.liviakerrfineart.com. And also, you can find my mosaics in Auburn Old Town Gallery. I'm a new member there, so I'm very happy about that. So you can always find them there. Also, and that's in Old Town Auburn. You can also find my some of my paintings and mosaics in a Persimmon Gallery until the end of the month, I think, June. And also, you can find my art right now at Tango Frozen Yogurt, which is downtown Auburn, an amazing place. You should try it. And then I do have my art also in Zest Kitchen, which is an amazing vegan restaurant in Rockland. So there's quite a few options there. Also, I forgot, I just joined another gallery. It's a Camelot Gallery in Yuba City, and they have amazing artwork. They used to be in Nevada City, and now they have this other location in Yuba City. So just amazing artworks all over the place. And I don't know if I forgot any other...
One of the things that I will mention is that every year the Placer Artist has a tour.
Yes.
There are over 100 artists that are participating in this tour. It is usually the second week in November, and Livia will be there. Her studio here will be open, and there's some other artists that are showing with you.
Yes, we have, it's going to be 3 artists showing at this location with Janet and Tanaj Creations, and then Paula Emerine with Emerine Artworks. You're going to see her here. And even though Meredy and Keith Smith are not in the tour, they have their studio over here as well, so you can always just come down and see all of our works. We're usually open the first Saturday of the month, 10-ish to 4-ish. The earlier the better. But yes, we do try to be open the first Saturday of the month, and if not, we always update it on our Instagram account or Facebook account, so just follow us there. My Instagram and Facebook, they're both the same. You're going to find me at Livia Kerr Fine Art all together. So yeah, that's pretty much it, I think. And the studio, I don't know if I mentioned the address here.
Why don't you go ahead and give it to us?
Yes, it's 124 Orange Street, downtown Auburn. The parking and entrance is off Lewis Street, so it's pretty easy to find us. Just look up the signs and you'll find us.
And it is an absolutely fabulous place to come and visit, and I thank you so very much for opening up your studio to us and sharing all of your artwork and giving us this fabulous demonstration in the mosaics.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed this, and you're so much fun to talk to about art. And Phil, thank you so much for the wonderful work you do behind the camera.
And I want to thank you for tuning in to Auburn Community Television, or possibly catching us on YouTube. Meet the Artist is filmed on a regular basis, and we introduce new artists all the time. So maybe through this program, you have discovered that there's an artist within you, or possibly there's an artist just around the corner.